I want to talk television, and one thing that I've noticed is how networks tend to use blacks to launch, TV networks tend to use black shows to launch their network. And I remember when what was it? It's a documentary with Terry Vaughn, black actress, where she gets other black actresses together, and that one from a different world. She talks about the same thing. I didn't see it all, but I saw the trailer, and I anticipate ordering the documentary. But I had been saying this, that I've noticed that these TV networks, they use black people to help launch their shows. Okay. Now, if you remember, for those who are alive and can recall, and those who just know, like myself, Sanford and Son and the shows, that show kind of started it all for those black shows, or those more real shows of the 70s, like Sanford and Son and Good Times and All in the Family. But Sanford and Son, they started on CBS. That was a network that aired those shows like Good Times and Sanford and Son and the Jeffersons. Those shows were on CBS. Okay, for a lot of people, that's hard for them to believe, being that later on into the 80s, you didn't associate CBS with black people. What was there, just Frank's Place? Like maybe one of the few shows with blacks on CBS in the 80s, Frank's Place, and that was canceled very shortly after because people were sleeping on it and not really watching the show, even though I heard it was a good black show. But even though, and see, Sanford and Son was so good that they killed the ratings for the Brady Bunch, and the Brady Bunch was eventually canceled. That's how good Sanford and Son was. That's how many, it was these shows that helped launch CBS, or really, it'd been around, but it was these shows that really pulled in the ratings. Sanford and Son, Jeffersons, Good Times. Those are my favorite shows. I love the shows of the 70s. And then, but later on, CBS, you didn't even associate them anymore with black people. And then, there was NBC. Now, we definitely know what NBC, must-see TV. In the 80s, ABC at first was ruling with shows like Dynasty and, but NBC, here comes the Cosby Show. Okay, and it was shows like Cosby Show, A Different World, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, 227. It was those shows that put NBC in the lead over ABC. Okay, because ABC was kicking NBC's ass at one point, but it was NBC that ended up garnering more viewers with the Cosby Show. Don't get me wrong, Cheers was a really good show too, but the thing is, the demographics for Cheers, even though it had a lot of viewers, but the viewers were primarily white, whereas the Cosby Show, they crossed all races within this country. The Cosby Show was like straight national. And so that was the difference between them and Cheers, even though Cheers was a really good show. And there were few of us, like my brother and stuff, who watched Cheers regularly. But it was the Cosby Show and those black shows that made NBC must-see TV. Okay? And remember how the Cosby Show won all those Emmys and stuff? But then what happened? What happened with NBC? Later on into the 90s, they come along with the white version of Living Single, Friends, and Seinfeld, and I guess they don't need us anymore. They cancel A Different World, I read somewhere it was about the backlash of suburbanites who felt, they, I guess, were intimidated by this uprising of black culture and television and cable, like with the OMTV Raps and all that, and so I guess this is what led to the cancellation, of these shows, at least from what I had read. Because I remember hearing about with Different World, how they just didn't even give them any sort of warning. Like with the Jeffersons, they said that they didn't even know they was canceled. You know, they didn't even give them a last show. The same thing kind of with A Different World. I heard them kids were all out of a job. You know, and that's really sad. That's really messed up. You know, after Cosby Show left, you know, they went out on a good foot. Um, it's just like since then, you know, and then the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Will Smith went through his thing, you know, they just, you know, they decided we don't need you no more. It's like every time we get them up to a certain point of ratings, and then they find some white substitute now that they've got everybody watching, you know, and they don't need us anymore. And the same thing with ABC. When you really think about it, with TGIF, okay, there were some good shows, Full House and Boy Meets World, but what was the number one show watched during TGIF? Family Matters with Urkel, okay? But you know, you don't really see us on ABC anymore. Okay? And then remember, there's network Fox. Nobody even really saw that as a real network when it came out, you know, in the mid to late 80s. You know, when Fox was, you know, nobody even put them with the networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, you know. But what helped them blow up, okay? Now, you could say Married with Children, yes, but note, it was one of the creators of Married with Children was a black guy, okay? Because I knew there was something, because, you know, blacks could really relate to that show. I know I could. But the main shows, the other shows, Martin, Living Single, Rock, remember that? Hanging with Mr. Cooper, which was originally on ABC when from what I remember. You know, it was these shows that helped Fox become a real station, you know, or considered a legit station, okay? And what happened with Fox? Slowly but surely, you know, you don't really see that many of us on there either now. You know, ain't that something? And Fox was like the station that was like giving us a chance, you know. But it seemed like Bernie Mac, I think, and, you know, that was like the last show, one of the last shows with us, you know, and made, what was Everybody Hates Chris? Was that on Fox? You know, but now that's done. And then even, and this is what tripped me out, the member WB and UPN, and they were like the black networks, you know, these secondhand networks. I didn't really like all them shows like Sister Sister and The Smart Guy. That wasn't really, you know, it wasn't as humorous as the shows like Rock and Martin. But, oh yeah, and let's not forget Fox with Arsenio Hall. But, yeah, even those networks, WB and UPN, you know, now they used to have all those black shows, little secondhand shows. But what happened to them? Like UPN, what brought them the most ratings? Tyra Banks, Top Model. But what happened? Soon as they get all the viewers they need, they garner viewers, and then they begin to drop us like flies when they begin to find white answers, or, you know, and it started with Seventh Heaven on WB. And the Gilmore Girls, and what's that one with the Superman, Smallville, and it started with those shows, and they no longer need us, you know. So this is just this is how it is with us in this country. You know, we used our culture, our slang, our dances, our music. We are used until they, you know, they always, you know, biting off of our style of using us to launch them or to, you know, but then we're dropped